coast.
Kaniko kwa pati jo imeshona, nimevunja kabati luku safi noma noma. Ndo kwanza naanza hii ni warm up. Came from nothing now they bumping kila kona. Kaniko kwa pati jo imeshona, nimevunja kabati luku safi noma noma. Ndo kwanza naanza hii ni warm up. Came from nothing now they bumping kila kona. Big drip nikipita na watch the blueprint. Too clean with the swag mia juu chin. Sibugi wanangu wa Brooklyn wamedondoka na mwewe kuko toke nduki. Too clean kavida za jurist. Mindo yule bully hubuli mabuli. Na wableska buddha taka misi Buddhist. Hini noma baswezi shangata wa kibuddhist. Yeah, mini mtoto wa magetoni. 70 tunanga street pande ya Likoni. Naulizo mtani mbona wanioni. Halo. Yes jomba niko poa. Yani niko mahangaikoni hata niko studio ankoli. Acha nitakupigia baadaye sawa? Bye. Still grinding if you know a better rapper show me. Siku njema uonekana in the morning. Rapping to 540s on the line kombioni. Seti kivela for 20 mida jioni. We uko yoni, si tukoni. Kani kuko pati jo imeshona. Nimevunja kabati luku safi noma noma. Ndo kwanza naanza hii ni warm up. Came from nothing now they bumping kila corner. Kani kuko pati jo imeshona. Nimevunja kabati luku safi noma noma. Ndo kwanza naanza hii ni warm up. Came from nothing now they bumping kila corner. Kila corner, kila corner. Came from nothing now they bumping kila corner. Ndo kwanza naanza hii ni warm up. Came from nothing now they bumping kila corner. Kila corner ya tao CBD tu easily. Kompe hakuna sona shinda easily. Mziki laid back kawa zile zama za DVD. Saini TBT ndo fike hapa titia BD. Ruthless nah sometimes you need to act clueless. Know you the real na the fake before it's too late. Mjini shule karibuni tule. Kwa wale waliochangia hao wengine usonge kule. No toboy Kenya unahitaji connection ka TikTok mboka bila ganji stakio risto. Kwa kina risko mbanga lintolea pisto. We only die once akianani siogopi kifo. Kani kwa pati jo imeshona. Nimevunja kabati luku safi noma noma. Ndo kwanza naanza hii ni warm up. Came from nothing now they bumping kila corner. Kani kwa pati jo imeshona. Nimevunja kabati luku safi noma noma. Ndo kwanza naanza hii ni warm up. Came from nothing now they bumping kila corner.
Now listening to the best music. This is time.
Yeah, good afternoon, family. That is Asano Afrocentric playing right here. Sana, that is Asano Afrocentric playing right here on the middle of the 21st century. Hope you guys are doing amazing, having an easy Friday. Hope your week has been fantastic. Mine has been great. I can't literally complain. But of course, karibuni sana to another episode of the Pan-African Bliss as we get to talk about what has been happening in the last, I'd say 24 hours, because I was not able to make it in yesterday. A few things I had to tackle, but I am here and back and well. But karibuni sana once again. Today we're going to be talking about what is happening in Somali and Kenya. Kenya has actually reopened the border of Kenya and Somali. So we're going to be talking about that. This is actually after 15 years ago. We're going to go back to history and understand actually why the border was closed. Because if you go back to the history of Kenya, there's a lot of times where we had actually attacks coming from the Al-Shabaab terrorists, literally. And as we talk about that, we're going to be discussing also what is happening in Nigeria, where the Chinese or China has been accused of funding. That is, the Chinese embassy has actually rejected the claim that they have been funding radical Islamist groups and ethnic militias to protect its mining interests. We know China, of course, is much involved in many African countries, but when you talk about the people who are accusing them, that is America, they're the big actually funders through organizations like the USAID, which Trump shut down. America has been one of the biggest funders, or I'd say money contributors, literally, when it comes to terrorizing or destabilizing Nigeria. And of course, we have facts on that, bunch of videos, as even Nigerians themselves talk about it. And again, I'm going to look at a little bit of our ignorance on the video I have, where it's sad that Africans are not really well educated when it comes to the resources and the interest of the white people or these other countries. Much more still coming from Africa. Still going to be talking about the African Union, which has refused the recognition of Somaliland. So we're going to be talking about that. This was a conversation that was being held at the African Union. And of course, this is after we seen actually many African presidents attended the meeting that was in Ethiopia. We're going to be looking at that as they question actually if they deserve to have a seat at the table or if they are the menu, which is actually a very good question because Africa currently is under scramble, is being scrambled. But apart from that, we've seen African leaders always attending these summits, but they don't even have to, they don't make decisions, so they're not the decision makers. So it's actually a very good question and topic of the day. Africa sit at the table, or are we the menu, literally, which is which? You need to understand that. Much more coming from Niger, DRC, Congo as we get to continue, and of course looking at also the underdevelopment of Africa, which is intentional. I was supposed to share these videos yesterday, but since I was not able to make it in, we're gonna be able to pick it up from there. But before we get started, a quick reminder to get yourself the organic supplements we have on our BHFN Sports page. The only way we can get that is by downloading the app on the Google Play Store. And of course, once you have the app, it requires you 0 cents to actually sign in. It's free of charge. The first thing you're going to meet is actually listening to me via the radio segment. After that, you can see the upper 3 lines on your left, which you'll click onto. You can see the donation site, the show page, the radio section. You can see the social media site. And of course, we also have the BHFN and apparel store where you can get yourself hoodies, merchandise of any color and preference and sizes, but organic supplements also are there. Your health is your health. For now, get yourself some brain and focus as we come back with the conversations of today.
Unlock your full potential with Brain and Focus, a powerful supplement designed to boost mental clarity, enhance memory, and sharpen concentration. Made from a blend of scientifically proven ingredients like ginkgo biloba, omega-3, and essential vitamins, Brain and Focus is crafted to fuel your mind. Our process ensures maximum potency and effectiveness, delivering the perfect balance of brain-boosting nutrients. Take just 1 capsule daily, as prescribed by your healthcare provider, and feel the difference. Whether it's powering through your workday or staying sharp in life's challenges, Brain and Focus keeps you at the top of your game. Stay sharp, stay focused, and stay ahead with Brain and Focus. Brain and Focus, fuel your mind, achieve more. Go get this product at blackhotfirenetwork.com at the Sports and Nutrition Store.
At a very affordable price. But as we get started with today's conversation, we're going to start with what is happening in Kenya. Yesterday, there was an announcement made by our very own dear President William Ruto about reopening the Kenya-Somali border. This actually has come into a discussion after almost 15 years. That's since when the border was closed, and we're going to be looking again at the main reasons why Kenya closed the borders. Again, I mentioned there was a couple of incidents where the Al-Shabaab were very much active in our country, especially during Kibaki's regime. When he was the president, we had so many attacks in different parts of the countries. When you talk about malls, people just being shot. When you talk about schools, we have literally a total of close to 1,000, if I can remember, of the Garissa incident, where literally so many parents lost their children in that university because of Al-Shabaab attack. And if you look at most of these attacks, I think, again, personally, I've understood it takes us back, or we have to go back to understand what did the country not do, what was being demanded that led to this terrorism attack. Because as much as many African countries are literally undergoing war, there's always something or a key to it. But this is what President William Ruto said yesterday, literally about reopening the borders. And before this, actually, he was accused of secretly meeting with the Al-Shabaab group. So we're going to be talking about that after this, because we need to understand and connect the dots. Understand currently right now, Kenya is actually under campaign, or we are in the campaign season. Next year is our election, and politicians will do anything to make the people smile. Politicians right now are willing to become actually the bootlickers to us, for us to think that actually they are on our side. They care about trading now all of a sudden, because that's what Ruto is telling us. If Africa really cared and valued actually trading, this is something we should have discussed long time ago, about why people always coming to invade about our border discussions or agreements. And if you look at also the wars or the terrorism, again, these are things we should have sat down as a continent, discussed before even coming to close the borders. Or if close the borders, we talk about go back to who is funding these terrorist groups, where are they coming from, how comes they have advanced weapons more than the militaries or our people who are supposed to be defending the country, and talk about in matters of security.
In other news, President William Ruto has announced that the Kenya-Somalia border will be reopened in April this year in a move aimed at boosting trade between the two countries. However, the proposal has sparked debate, with supporters citing its potential economic benefits for the region, while critics raise security concerns. The president made the announcement while disbursing business funds under the Nyota program in the county of Mandera. NTV's Eugen Nambeka reports.
The Kenya-Somalia border was closed in the year 2011 following a series of attacks by the Al-Shabaab militant group, which had intensified in the neighboring country during the leadership of the late President Mwai Kibaki. More than a decade after the closure, President William Ruto, during his tour of the northern eastern region to disburse funds under the Nyota Youth Empowerment Program, announced that he will return to the area in April to reopen the border.
Hawa vijana hapa tunawapatia pesa ya biashara, si ni kweli? Na biashara haiwezi kufanyika kama.
So currently understand this is happening also because we have the opposition leader, that is Rigathi Gachagua, who is one among the aspiring presidential candidates, who has been attacking the Somali people in Kenya after the Minnesota situation, where most of these funds again were being, they were reportedly to be linked back in Kenya, building multiple estates, malls, businesses, and run by the Somali community. So Ruto is actually doing this. This is a political agenda. This is nothing to do with actually Kenya Somali interest in terms of trading. And of course, we go back again, if really he talked to or had a secret meeting with the Al-Shabaab. And remember, actually, since last year, I've been discussing how Ruto was multiple of times called out by not only the Somali, not the Somali, but the Ethiopian people, complaining about how people are just violating rules. The Somalis are violating rules when they're crossing to Kenya. There were a lot of questions being raised and all that. So again, this is nothing to do with Kenya Somali interest. This is actually political interest when it comes to Ruto and him becoming a president. He's trying as much as he can actually to give, I'd say, majority of these people national IDs and voters card, because most of the Somali people don't have IDs. So getting an ID is equal as getting a voters card. That is basically what we've understood. So many of these people, I bet we should expect them now being considered as Kenyans. So it's really crazy.
Mipaka yetu imefungwa. Kwa hivyo mimi narudi hapa mwezi wa 4 kuja kufungua ile border post.
Although reopening the border could boost economic activity by enhancing trade between Kenya and Somalia and help curb smuggling, the move has raised security concerns, with fears that militant groups could exploit the reopening to infiltrate the country. There are also concerns that citizens from Somalia may use the border to enter Kenya and seek access to services meant for Kenyan citizens.
Exactly.
However, the president says the government has a plan in place.
Sisi wote tuwe ni watu ambao tutapigana na Al-Shabaab. Hawa Al-Shabaab ni watu bure. Mimi nataka niwaeleze, mimi na nyinyi tutaungana, serikali ya Kenya tutashirikiana, nyinyi mtusaidie.
So the fact we don't have this is where critical thinking also needs to eat us as people, as a people. The fact that we don't have a strong military weapons or military equipments, or even our military people themselves, they are weak as F. And the fact that we're not properly equipped, or we've not been prepared for the last 15 years despite closing this border, we didn't put any proper security measures just in case we reopen the border, and in case Al-Shabaab attack came back again in the country to threaten the lives of Kenyans, how would you protect yourself? Critical thinking, seriously. This is why 15 years. How has Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta been able to tackle this situation? Not in any sort of way. Not in any sort of way. They have not brought, not even Kibaki, because this was done in 2011. They have not done anything to ensure that we have proper security even when we reopen the border. So this is very, very crazy. Saying that the Al-Shabaab are very useless people, and understanding that we have the same patterns when it comes to all these terrorist groups, how they are well advanced when it comes to equipment or weapons. This is very alarming. This is very, very alarming to Kenya, and we should be very careful. I feel like especially the northern parts of Kenya, but not just that, because these people, when they come to the country, they come. The Westgate Mall attack literally just happened. This was in Nairobi. Just a gang of people pulled up and they started shooting, including children and women. So this is very, very alarming to us as a country in terms of insecurity and security.
Tuweze kukabiliana na wahuni na magaidi, ndio Mandera hii iendelee na maendeleo, iendelee na biashara, ndio Mandera ikue na isaidie kuchangia katika uchumi wa taifa letu la Kenya.
So the first question should be, what does Somali have to contribute to Kenya when it comes to trading? That's a question we should start asking. Fine, if we're opening these borders in the name of trading, benefiting for people who are doing business and all that, what is it that Somali has to offer to Kenya for us to actually become trading partners? I think this was actually in 2022. Let me see. Kenya, let me see. Let me just audio that. Kenya gives away sacks of maize to Somalians. To Somali. Let's see. This was in 2022. That was in November exactly. In November 2022, I'm glad I don't forget most of the things I report. In November 2022, the Kenyan government sent over 4,200 kgs of food donation to Somali to aid survivors for a twin bomb blast in Mogadishu. And this donation included assorted food items and the medical supply, which were delivered by the Kenyan Defense Forces, that is the KDF, to the Aden Duale Airport in Somali. And the question is, so that is in November. We're talking about November 2022. The fact that the country itself was actually struggling and tackling insecurity crisis, what makes us think it's safe for us to still collaborate with the same country? The fact that actually we are the food providers to them, what is it that we are going to trade with Somali? What is it? Because the country is not developed in any way. And I think if we talk about actually agriculture, I don't think they're anywhere close to the majority of the African countries. That is just as for me, without even me doing research. That's why most of these people actually flying away from their country to other African countries, because it's just hunger. Actually, let's just pull a video. It's just hunger. Let's look at Somali today. Then we understand, because if you're talking about us trading, Mr. Ruto, we have nothing to trade with Somali, but just war. They're very well known. Actually, personally, I remember, despite having Muslim friends or Somali friends or Ethiopian friends, you used to still be scared. You're like, man, you people are so much linked into terrorism. You'd think, you'd be walking with people, or you can claim they are your friend, but the next day you wake up, you see them literally being part of the terrorists, the family being linked to terrorism. So this is actually very, very crazy. But yes, the Kenyan border with Somali will reopen. That is in April, almost 15 years after it shut down because of attacks by Islamist groups of Al-Shabaab. This is President William Ruto's announcement. And based in Somali, the group has masterminded a series of deadly assaults in Kenya, including one of the shopping centers in the capital of Nairobi, which led to the killing of 67 people in 2013 exactly, where we had, that was during Uhuru Kenyatta's actually time. He was a president, and the border was still shut down. I remember actually at that time the border was shut in 2011, but in 2013 there was an attack, an invasion of the Al-Shabaab groups that is in the capital city of Kenya, Nairobi, in a mall, one of actually the most, I'd say, expensive malls we have in the 254, one of the biggest malls we have in the 254, Westgate Mall. I remember the last time I went there, I was even actually very scared because the incident was really, really deadly when it happened in the country. People were so scared of going to malls. People could panic every single time because you're not sure what is coming next. You know, are you safe, or could you just be one among the victims who could end up in this kind of situation? And they're saying, and one at the University of Garissa, 2 years later, killing 148 people, which I do believe the figure is actually quite a lie. I'm not sure, because the number was actually bigger than that. The plan has been announced before in 2023, but further attacks postponed the arrangements. And Ruto said his intentions to reopen the border, Ruto said the intention to reopen two crossing follows years of security assessment, adding that there will be heavy deployment of security forces to ensure the move does not compromise safety. Bet sure it will. I'll not be surprised if I start reporting cases of Al-Shabaab attacks in the northern parts of Kenya, to be specific, because even as we talk, I think since last year we've been reporting of how many people are dying there, leave alone with the Agenda 2030, which is about carbon emission, most of the lands being taken away from people. Still, the kind of war that actually happens in the northern parts of Kenya because of oil, there's massive oil in the northern parts of Kenya. It's crazy. The killings go unreported. The media barely goes there. This is actually also one among the places that say people are suffering because of hunger. And it was actually quite a shock, because at 2022, when Kenya was taking food to Somali, we had Kenyans who were starving. So the question still went back to home. How do you help your neighbor become safe first while your own children are starving? It doesn't make sense. How do you go feed your neighbor's children while your very own children are starving? So apart from that, because they're saying about assessment of security and all that, we have allegations of Ruto having secret meetings with the Al-Shabaab. And this is actually a report of 2 days ago. That is before he mentioned about reopening the borders. There was already accusations and allegations of him meeting secretly with the Al-Shabaab. The same President William Ruto has dismissed opposition allegations that he held. And of course, remember, we also had Gachagua talking about this. Like I said, last year I talked about this as well, where there were conversations about Ruto meeting up with the RSF from the RSF, the group that currently is causing destabilization in Sudan, right? So this is crazy. This is crazy. And then we started seeing some troops, I think from Somali, the RSF groups were spotted in Kenya. We also had the previous, I think, president of one of the, I think either Sudan or Congo. Yeah, Congo. That is, what is his name? I'm forgetting his name. His name is always like on my mouth, god damn it. But he's a former president who is one among the people who are accused of destabilizing or helping destabilize DRC Congo as it is today. Have they been charged with anything? Hell no. But President William Ruto has dismissed opposition allegations that he held meetings with the Al-Shabaab terrorist groups during a visit to the country's north and east region. Ruto said the claims were politically motivated and designed to sabotage his development agenda. Which development have you done so far? None. in what appeared to be a veiled attack of his former deputy and local critic, Rigathi Gachagua, who first made the claims in 2025 exactly. I reported that. Ruto said that the opposition lacks constructive ideas and exploits the youth for political gain. And so do you. So do you. But I want us to just a little bit move away from that before we check out Somali current situation, and we look at the video of when actually Kenya closed its border, which is what we have on our screen. This was in 2011, and what led to it. We know it's insecurity, but just let's look at this.
A busy day at the Lamu airport as senior government officials arrived. The high-powered delegation that included Tourism Minister Najib Balala and Police Commissioner Matthew Itere later took a tour of the Indian Ocean, part of a move aimed at reassuring locals, tourists and investors alike that the government is very much on top of things and will secure the country's borders. The team later held a meeting with investors in the tourism sector.
The minute you close down a single hotel, you create a panic. I know you'll suffer for a week or so, no clients, but I appeal to you, don't close.
We are not, and I repeat, we are not going to allow an incident like what happened last Sunday to happen again.
In Nairobi, a hurriedly convened press conference by Internal Security Minister George Saitoti, a briefing dominated by tough talk and plenty of pledges to restore security at the coast.
And they still haven't. 15 years down the line of closing the Somali-Kenya border, and now it being reopened, still we don't have proper security measures put across the two borders. We don't have, again, proper enough weapons, or proper weapons. Literally, we don't have a strong defense to claim we can go and attack a group of people who are being funded heavily by outside countries, non-African countries, to cause destabilization in Africa, because that's what it's all about. And like I said, in the northern parts of Kenya, there's massive oil. There's been literally, I'd say, silent killings that happen every day in the northern parts of Kenya because of the oil that is there. There's actually political wars within our very own Kenyan government because of the oil that is in the northern parts of Kenya. So this is, they have not tackled anything. And that's what I'm saying. We have nothing. Even if you want to claim this is in terms of trade, that's the excuse you want to use, that we're reopening the borders because of trading. Just look at the screen. The first videos you've seen of actually Somali is why Somali is so poor. Deported from America to Somali and struggling to actually live under poverty and unemployment. And that's the first one I'm going to play. Because we shared that one. I don't want to play that one again. I think we shared that one sometime in the Africa Today show. But this one, why is Somali so poor? Somali is poor. The people themselves know, because if it was a rich land or a rich country, again, the Somalis would not be everywhere, the same as Nigerians. And not even to attack the Somalis in general, but I'm just being honest. The country is so underdeveloped. And if it was developed, or if it's a country that was doing good in terms of agriculture, in terms of many things, we'd not see the people running away from their beautiful country. So what is it that we, Kenya, we're going to be trading with Somali? As we have a lot to offer, I do believe that. We're farming coffee, we're farming tea, which they love actually coffee. The biggest, I'd say the second best coffee, the first best coffee we have in Africa comes from Ethiopia. As much as Ghana is the largest producer of coffee, the best coffee or the sweetest coffee, bet you me, is in Ethiopia. And that's just straight facts. Every African in Africa knows that. It's just purely known. I've not tasted personally the coffee from Ghana, so I can't judge, but there's just something about the Ethiopian coffee. So back to Somali, and for us as Kenya, we're farming maize, we're farming a lot of things. We have a lot of things that actually we can trade and exchange with other countries for economical benefits. What does Somali have to offer is the question. So this opening or reopening of the border is for political interest to start war in the country, which, remember, I read again and reported last year. This is can happen, or it's something that they're looking forward for it to happen, because Ruto is incompetent, number one. He can't mobilize people anymore the way he used to. The people are tired of the scams. We can only gather here to take money, but we still say 2 term. One term, sorry. We're saying 1 term. We want you gone. We want you gone. Kenyans right now, already they have been warned of resharing. Kenyans have been warned to stop resharing the protest video of 2024, or rather it's going to lead to arrests. Why are you arresting people for resharing the videos of 2024 demonstration if actually you care about the justice of people? Last week, I shared a video where Ruto said that actually the people and the innocent lives of the people who are killed in the demonstrations the family should be compensated, and justice is going to be given to these families. And this is actually a year or 2 years after. That's when he comes to talk about, oh, I'm really sorry. We have innocent lives who died demonstrating about the rights of the countries. You didn't care that time. You called the Kenyans terrorists. You called those young people, majority who died in that street, for standing up for what democracy should be stood up for, terrorists. You sent people messages. You working with Safaricom or these other organizations. By 5 p.m., I remember we were in the streets. This is going to be considered an anarchy, or this is actually a coup. What do you mean? Because people are demanding rights. So now all of a sudden we should forget and listen to your political interest or political gains. We're not going to do that. And the question and the real discussion Kenyans need to start having, we need to go back to this closure and reopening of the border. This is a very serious matter. This is a very serious matter. We're talking about matters of insecurity in the country. And again, like I said, this is possibly meant to happen because if we have an arrest in the country, in different parts of the countries, the elections are meant to be postponed, which is also what he wants, because people are tired of him. We have the ODM party, that is the political party that has been led for so long by the late Raila Odinga. Now, Raila Odinga, the moment they announced Raila Odinga was dead, Ruto bought out some people from the ODM party to side with him and claim the ODM party. And they did this even by this, that was on Wednesday, removing the chairperson of that political party, which again, they went ahead on the national TV, on one of the mainstream media TV, and talked about it and standing up with Kenyans and saying, we're not going to allow you to just dissolve things because you want to go for another term when people are actually tired of you becoming a president. And Kenyans are backing up this. Kenyans are backing up this. And I love the fear that actually the Kenyans have removed. We're not going to listen to your bullshit anymore. You've done kidnappings, you've done so many things. So go ahead and do the worst. But we're not going to keep quiet and watch you make the lives of Kenyans hard for your own interest and your white people. It's crazy. What does Somali have to offer? Let's look at what Somali maybe has something to offer. Maybe I'm the one who's criticizing, but let's see. Why is Somali so poor? Maybe we can...
Why is Somalia so poor? Welcome to our channel once again. Today, our exploration takes us to Somalia, the easternmost country in Africa. It is one of the world's poorest countries, plagued by decades of civil war, political instability, and natural disasters. This video delves into the multifaceted causes of Somalia's persistent poverty, exploring historical, political, economic, and environmental factors hindering its development. Join us in unraveling the secret of poverty in Somalia as we answer the question.
So I believe this is Seppo in the building. Trust me, I'm coming to South Africa, whether you like it or not. It might not be very soon, might not be under black on fire, but trust you me, I'm coming to South Africa. And yes, I want to meet those women who talk shit and you, man. Yeah, I'm coming to South Africa. Ain't nobody's going to tell me don't come here. This is not Europe. You can have white people telling you what you can't do or not do in your own country, but don't tell me where not to do, where not to come. I'm coming. I am coming, my friend. The coward are the people who actually accept your weakness. If you're trying to call me a coward, you're the coward here, literally.
Why is Somalia so poor?
Whoever it is this on the comment section, you don't tell me what not to do. This is Africa. This is Africa, too educated for me to listen to an African telling me, don't do this. I'ma do it. Exactly what you don't want me to do.
Into the past. Somalia's poverty roots can be traced back to its colonial past. The arbitrary borders drawn by European powers in the late 19th century ignored ethnic and clan divisions, sowing seeds of conflict.
Actually, the cowards are the people who cannot even face white people and tell them to get out of their own country. Let's talk about that. Do not call me a coward. Can I share the link? You join the conversation, Mr. Pharaoh, or whatever you call yourself, Pharaoh. Go back to Egypt or something.
Post-independence, the nation faced challenges in uniting its diverse population, leading to political instability and a lack of cohesive national identity. This tumultuous history set the stage for the country's later struggles. Political instability is a significant factor in Somalia's poverty. The fall of the Siad Barre regime in 1991 led to a power vacuum and subsequent civil war, fracturing the country into territories controlled by warlords and clans. The absence of a central government hindered development efforts and foreign investment, further exacerbating poverty. The Transitional Federal Government, TFG, established in 2004, struggled to assert control, and the ongoing insurgency by al-Shabaab has perpetrated insecurity, preventing economic progress. Besides political instability, Somalia's economy faces numerous economic instability.
Of course.
The country lacks infrastructure,
Of
with
course.
inadequate roads, ports.
Of course, yeah, we have lack of infrastructure, inadequate roads. Let's continue. Lack of schools, lack of water, lack of food. So, what is it that we're supposed to be trading back with Somali as a Kenyan government or Kenya? I'm just gonna stop it at that because that is some. Okay, apologies. But yeah, I'm saying I'm just going to stop it at that with sharing with what Somali is all about because it's clear, very evident that personally, there's nothing we and Somali can trade. There's nothing we have to offer each other. There's nothing. This is all about politics. This is all about political unrest that is meant to happen in the country. Because of the elections and because Ruto is literally losing numbers. He has no support at all. People want him gone as soon as possible. But moving away from that, the same similar situation is happening in Nigeria. And this is actually now very new, where we have the US, which accused China of actually funding illegal mining and militias in the country to conduct illegal mining interests, right? So they're saying that China has rejected, of course, the accusations coming from the US lawmakers, that is the Congress, and they're saying the allegations of the illegal mining terror financing in Nigeria. So the Chinese embassy came out and rejected the claim that it was funding radical Islamic group and ethnic militias to protect its mining interests. The Chinese government has rejected allegations by the US congressmen of sponsoring illegal mining in Nigeria, describing the claim as completely baseless. The Chinese embassy also rejected the claim that it was funding radical Islamic groups and ethnic militias to protect its mining interests by paying protection money to specific militias. In a statement issued on Thursday, the Chinese embassy in Nigeria said it was deeply dissatisfied with the false accusation made by the lawmakers regarding the mining activities in Nigeria. And I quote what they said: "We express our firm opposition and strong dissatisfaction and request that the relevant media immediately cease spreading such false information." The embassy also noted that China requires all its nationals to be able to abide by Nigerian mining regulations, adding that the country has zero tolerance for mining companies involved in any legal activity, which is also a very big lie. I mean, do you have Chinese companies all over African countries? Yes, we do. Could these accusations be very real? Yes, they could, because China and the US, they're not different. They're the same people, same interests, same behavior of exploitation and never giving Africa the best. The only bullshit we've been given is the term collaboration cooperation, which has not taken us anywhere as a continent. We're still stuck behind, still in the same position of always begging, becoming Afghanistans, literally, as Nigeria, Afghanistans. But yes, apart from that, I want to share this video very quickly because this video actually explains a bit of also what Nigeria has been doing to fuel this kind of false information. Not this specifically, but majority of the false information. Of course, we know the mainstream media is very much funded, but we know who, we don't have to go there. But Nigeria has been one among the African countries, and I bet the rest also follow, how they have paid the US firm $9 million, not Nigerian currency, okay? Dollars, to lie about happenings in Nigeria. So could this also be a lie about the Chinese actually having illegal mining? Personally, I don't believe that's a lie because they are very much present in African countries. If you go to Congo, if you come to Kenya, if you go to Tanzania, go to Uganda, the patterns continue. These are the people who actually hold big percentages of mining, illegal mining, I'd say companies in Africa. They don't follow any laws or any type of mining regulations. They don't. They come set up, they do these things behind our backs, majority of the citizens. It's always a handshake between the Chinese, the US, and the African leaders, not the Africans themselves being included. But listen to this.
Including now in Nigeria. We can't take our eyes off of that. I just want to say to my colleagues, to all of us, I'm deeply concerned that Nigeria has hired the K Street lobbying firm, DCI, to the tune of $9 million, $750,000 a month. And a billionaire, has entered into a $120,000 a month contract with Valcor to influence Congress and the executive branch. And Ambassador, you know as well as I over these many years, because you have fought this fight, they hire these firms, they come up with their very well-written talking points to say, nothing to see here. And unfortunately, how these firms are just so good at advocating for their client. Well, advocate for freedom and end to religious persecution. I have many other things I'd say, but I want to cut it off here. And I do want to thank, again, all of you for being here.
So basically, Nigeria government picked a firm that supports Donald Trump in the United States, pays them $9 million.
Even Kenya did the same. Kenya, and I bet the pattern again continues. Many African countries are paying the US to put up propagandas. We should say literally the mainstream media, to be specific, because this also comes with the mainstream media, who majority of the people or citizens feed information from, which is full of lies, literally full of filters, truth mixed with lies and all that. It's never anything to deal with the truth. And this is why even Nigerians themselves don't have much information, and I'll tell you even why.
Of our money, of our tax, to lobby, in fact, not lobby, to bribe the US firm to talk good about Nigeria. That is what is being exposed here. Instead of spending $9 million on fighting insecurity, they spent it on bribe and lobby, because that is only what this government understands. Bribe, lobby. That's how they got into power. They were not voted in. They bribed their way into.
Exactly. They were not voted in. They bribed out their way in.
By INEC, Observer, and they are continuing that process instead of fixing this country. Exactly. Nigerians, you can see the people that are ruling you. That is why they don't want electronic transmission of results, so they can still bribe.
Damn. Okay. Let me share my screen again. That was taken off.
Sneaky with that time again, ain't you?
It's my show, so what am I sneaky about? This is my time and my show. There's nothing sneaky about it, literally. But as we continue, Karibu sana. But as we continue, this is like you said, voting. These people bribe their way in different ways, and it's not even about talking good. I don't believe it's just talking good about Nigeria. They've been talking. Even the lies they talk about when it comes to the Christian killings, those type of lies, the Muslim killings, it's crazy. Exactly. They should have used the money to even build strong military bases, purchase proper weapons. And that's why I go back to, again, the insecurity matter about Kenya. It's been 15 years that we're talking about reopening the border of Kenya and Somali. Yet we've not built anything strong in terms of defense for us to be able to understand how we can cope with the Al-Shabaabs again, because the fact that they have been present in the country, how are we going to tackle this despite opening the border? How well prepared are you? And it's just very, very crazy. But apart from just what that guy is saying, we also remember we had, of course, information about the USAID literally funding lots of funds that is to Boko Haram, that is during Obama's time. And apart from that, of course, apart from Nigeria paying the US to give false reports, I love also how Nigerians are actually, some people understand what is happening, some don't. It's sad when you hear, there's a video I'm going to share here of someone saying how America is full of resources than Nigeria. And that is actually a very, very sad state of mind as an African to be, because and also goes back to why we put in that mindset of thinking the American dream is true. Literally, because you think America is actually very rich than Africa. It's crazy. But listen to this.
Who gets some of that money? Does that name ring a bell to anybody in the room? Because your money, $697 million annually, plus the shipments of cash funds madrasas, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, ISIS Khorasan, terrorist training camps. That's what it's funding. If you think that the program under Operation Enduring Sentinel, entitled Women's Scholarship Endowment, which receives $60 million annually, or the Young Women Lead, which gets about $5 million annually, is going to women who, by the way, if you read the Inspector General's report, is telling you that the Taliban does not allow women to speak in public. Yet somehow you're believing, and American people are supposed to believe, that this money is going for the betterment of the women in Afghanistan. It is not. You are funding terrorism, and it's coming through USAID. And it's not just Afghanistan, because Pakistan's right next door. USAID spent $840 million in the last 20 years on Pakistan's education-related program. It includes $136 million to build 120 schools, of which there is zero evidence that any of them were built. Why would there be any evidence? The Inspector General can't get in to see them. But you know what? We doubled down and spent $20 million from USAID to create educational television programs for children unable to attend the physical school.
And also, that's how they pay off a lot of their puppets.
Yeah, they can't attend it because it doesn't exist. You paid for it. Somebody else got the money. You are paying for terrorism. This has got to end. I yield, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, so the US cannot just accuse China of funding the mining in Nigeria, because they've also been doing so. They've been literally funding the Al-Shabaab, the Boko Haram. Now we have they're called ISIS.
Boko Haram, the ISIS. How did ISIS get all the way from damn Afghanistan all the way to goddamn Nigeria? Did they take a plane? Nobody knew they was terrorists? Do they got their own private jets? Make it make sense.
Yeah, so literally, and that is what is happening. Let me continue.
United States condemns Chinese exploitation of Nigerian natural resources.
I don't need to share that again. I think you guys I've already read that, so I don't need him explaining much. But let me go to
United States has more natural resources. So that I will have to be explaining to grown-ass Nigerian people. The US.
This is out now. This is the type of, I'll call this stupidity.
That's a moron. Exactly. If we had more resources, why is America all in Africa stupid? Why are they begging to get back in Burkina Faso right now? Why do you think they're trying to put loans on Burkina Faso and Niger and Mali? Stupid. That's always the same old nonsense. I will let you know we don't. No place has more resources than Africa. No place. Closest place may be Russia, but like I said, most of Russia is inhabitable. Isn't it funny? Russia needs people because you can't live in Russia. Most of Russia is inhabitable. Siberia takes up a big portion of that country, and it's uninhabitable. Go ahead, Joe.
To get natural resources past you.
Just because you have a big platform, you are charismatic, and you shout loudly does not make you right.
Yeah,
At
you
the end of this
stupid.
video, guys, I want you guys to tag this boy to this video because he has no idea of what he's talking about. When we
Don't,
say the
Steve.
Americans are coming in for their interest, what we mean is that America wants Nigeria because of the strategic positioning of Nigeria with the foot on the Atlantic Ocean in the Gulf of Guinea and also the access to the Sahel. The Americans were
Exactly.
living out of Niger. They had a drone base in Agadez where they were carrying out surveillance and they were carrying out activities in the Sahel, including taking some of those minerals we talked about.
Still another
When we
resources.
talk about minerals, we are not talking about oil. So that is the limit of your own knowledge, okay?
Mm,
Just
exactly,
because you shout loudly does not make you smart. Gallium, yttrium, praseodymium, tantalum, all these are rare earth minerals that America needs for their defense industries. What is the
Exactly.
largest export of United States of America? Technology, particularly military hardware. So they need these rare earth magnets
Rare earth
for their
minerals.
defense industries. China controls 90% of world rare earth. They have 60% of it, and the other 30 or 25%, they outsource it from other countries like Nigeria and other
They
places.
just don't,
This is why
China just doesn't, because China doesn't have it in this country. China just doesn't have it. China mines it, and then also they refine it. But see, America them gave that to China. They gave that up because they thought they'd always keep China under their boot as a bootlicking country. Because it didn't just happen. They gave it to China. And now China's like, hey, well, yeah, we got it now. You can't make no damn weapons. They're talking about you gonna kill us and go to war with us because we control the rare earth minerals. You go back 30 years ago, of course, America controlled all that. But they wanted to give, they wanted cheap labor and all that other shit. Now they're scrambling to try to get rare earth minerals back. And the majority of rare earth minerals is in where? Africa. Go ahead, Joe.
Trump wants to take over Greenland. This is why he's eyeing Nigeria. This is why he wants interest in South Africa and a host of other countries. The trade war between China and the United States of America is based on this as well. And China is punishing America by denying it access to rare earth.
Exactly.
Wake up. Just because you shout does not mean you have knowledge. And if for
Yeah, he's
one
a
second
moron.
you doubt my credibility, take a look at my other videos. And take a look at this video.
This is a huge mining site in Barkin Ladi. It's in Plateau State.
I've been to one of those mining sites where they are mining tin and columbite in Barkin Ladi in Plateau State. I know what I'm talking about, and you are ignorant. Somebody should tag him to this video. I think you are very good at what you do. Stick to talking about Very Dark Man, Bola Tinubu, and other social issues in Nigeria. This is not your domain. Stay clear because you look like a fish out of water.
Yeah, so literally it's about resources. And like I said, I can't for now, but my suspicions are about the oil. The same thing in Kenya, this about the oil in the northern parts of Kenya. It's always about resources, or it's literally could lead to maybe political unrest. Whatever the reopening of Kenya border is all about, you're going to be seeing the updates as we continue. And of course, you can see the same linked situation back in Nigeria.
Well,
But as
you gotta watch out also. You gotta watch out also for well, I tell you, these Africans, boy, you guys are just dangerous. Watch out for Ghana. Ghana is just this don't make any sense. Ghana hammer, your people don't overthrow you. Ghana just allowed France to come into their country with the fake thing. There's been no terrorism in Ghana. It's to give them access to the Sahel states again. So there's now French troops on the ground in Ghana. Come on, they fighting terrorism. We know it's a lie. And also Sahel states tell you now, you're going to invade these African countries. Okay? And this state, they might ride that. You're going to invade them. You're going to invade Cote d'Ivoire. You're going to invade Ghana because their people were behind you, not their crooked politicians. The people don't support Ghana politics. They just corrupt. Ivory Coast corrupt. If I was you, I'd take all three nations and I'd invade Togo, Benin, Ghana, and Cote d'Ivoire first. And see what Nigeria does. Nigeria will have to come to war against you. Because that's when we know also that you had a attack in Niger. Ain't that funny? As soon as the Americans got boots on the ground, you had an attack in Niger at one of the airfields. Yes. Your countries to the south are enemies. They're all bootlicks. You got boot. Listen, you already know what they are now. No more talking. Get your military, get as many African youth as you can. They'll come and you invade these niggas. You invade them.
But as we continue, we also have more updates coming from the African Union, which has rejected the Somaliland recognition. And this is, of course, after meetings which was held by multiple presidents from Africa, who are also having a conversation about Africa being on the seats at the table, or is Africa a menu? And of course, which led to my discussion of today. As please continue literally, because you can see Africa is the menu at this particular point. They'll never be at the table. You'll never be at the table. That's all literally I can. Until we claim pure power and true power, we're still gonna be in these organizations begging, because we're talking about Israel, when we know Israel, how it is linked in many different cases. I don't need to go into that, not my topic for today, but it's going to take you a hard time for you to just say we reject the recognition of Somaliland. It's already been done by Israel. So what you're going to do about it? But this is what the African Union board members and the presidents, what they had to say.
The African Union's Peace and Security Organ on Thursday condemned Israel's recognition of Somaliland, calling it an affront to Somalia's sovereignty.
No one cares what you puppets say.
Thursday, the Peace and Security Council said it strongly rejected the unilateral recognition of the so-called Republic of Somaliland by Israel and called for its immediate revocation. The statement follows Israel's announcement on December 26 of last year that it had officially recognized Somaliland as an independent country, becoming the sole nation to do so. The move was condemned by the African Union and nearly all Arab countries. Somalia has since signed defense agreements with Saudi Arabia and Qatar and welcomed the deployment of Turkish fighter jets on its soil. It has also cancelled a defense agreement with the United Arab Emirates.
Yeah, so I don't believe it's going to change a lot. It's not going to change anything. The status is still going to maintain the same. Nothing is going to change. If Israel say they recognize that as Somaliland, then that's it. It's up to us again as Africans, because you can't have that kind of discussion on the same fake organization funded and backed by the same people who actually want to keep Africa divided in the name of African Union. This is nothing to do with Africa Union. It has never been. Like I said, from the word go, it comes to even the Kenya again, reopening of the border. These are discussions that should have been held. And when it comes to other African countries in matters of terrorism, if we close the border because of terrorism attacks, how is it that we can tackle it despite, shutting it down? Because shutting it down, of course, has its own effect. And I'm not talking about actually Kenya, Somalia, but other African countries, because like I said, Somalia has nothing to offer Kenya. So if the bullshit is about trading, there's nothing Somalia has to offer Kenya. They are poor as F, and we've just evidently seen that. These people, the country is literally very poor. There's nothing active in terms of agriculture that they can give us food or anything. We're the ones actually offering them food as a country. We did that in 2022. I've just given you the evidence of that. But again, if we really cared about the African unity, the African Union should be one of the organizations talking about how we can tackle such kind of situations.
But you should ask the African Union. You should ask the goofy African Union. You're in a country called Ethiopia, doesn't see itself as black. Those Ethiopians are the enemy to Africans. But we now find out that Ethiopia, along with the UAE, has been helping fund and back the war in Sudan, the next door neighbors. So this is a fact now. Ethiopia has been linked to the war against Sudan. Ain't that funny? Ain't that funny? Now, if you with this fake African Union shit, everybody right now should be condemning Ethiopia. Where you got your fake African Union at? Why would you put the African Union in a country of mixed people saying that African? It's grace, because you didn't make it. You didn't make the African Union, moron. You wasn't put in that state.
Are moving fast, and the Somaliland government is lying to the people. See, when Izzy and Somaliland came out with this relationship late last year, they aired it as a bilateral agreement based on diplomatic cooperation, health, technology, agriculture. And when asked early on whether Somaliland will host Izzy military bases, they said immediately no and called that a baseless allegation. Well, in less than 2 weeks, they switched up because, give me a second, in a quiet interview on Izzy's Channel 12, Deqa Qasim, the head of the political affairs department at Somaliland's Foreign Ministry Affairs, that's a lot, admits that military bases are not on the table. She doesn't stop there. She goes further by saying our security cooperation with Izzy includes fighting. So landers better square up to protect their maritime and borders. What? See, this is why I can't stand politicians, because they lie like it's part of their job descriptions. But African politicians, they add an extra layer of insults. They lie because they assume people can't comprehend the reality, or as if we're incapable of connecting the dots. How did you go from branding yourself as a peaceful, stable region who's very democratic to not telling the people to brace yourself for a conflict? You know what's ridiculous? They all know what they're doing, including the Somaliland government. They have the people distracted on some agro-drip technology that Izzy's going to bring, supposedly, or some mobile health clinic. Meanwhile, in the background, they are rushing the security and military angle so fast, by the time the people catch up, it's going to be too late. And they will be on the next connected flight out of there.
Yeah, so I do believe whatever the African Union is doing is just for the props of the media, for people to believe that there are people who really care, the same way they do when it comes to wars. We care, we're looking for investigations, it's being done because of this and this violates our culture and all that. They don't care, even about the culture and all that. They don't really care. And the mission continues. Whatever the aim is all about, with Somaliland, it's still going to happen. On this other end, we have the acting head of UN mission, who is actually currently in DRC Congo. This is in matters of security. And you can see everything I'm talking about from the beginning of my topic. Literally, it's all about security and insecurity in Africa. Literally, everything is about security and insecurity. Who is interested in what? Who isn't interested in what? It's all, again, mind games. There's nothing these people actually... There's no important discussion these people have. The discussions they have and what we see on the media is all, again, for props, for us to think that these things are working, but they're not really working. Why do we have the UN acting mission, the head of UN mission literally in DRC Congo? If again, the peace talks were done between Rwanda and Congo and the US, how comes we still need these people again present in DRC Congo? What is America doing about the peace deals they had between the two countries? That the people actually have been calling Skedi a baby, because all he does is just follow orders with his big balloon stomach, because there's nothing he can't talk, can't stand up for the people, just presenting his big balloon stomach and having Kagame dictate to him like a baby. That's what happens. So this is the current situation currently in DRC Congo as we talk. Again, same patterns.
Touchdown in Goma as the acting head of the UN mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo arrived in the city, which is currently under the...
Which after this, I'm going to share now the video I promised to share on Wednesday about the white guy explaining about the and a development in Africa. And I have two. I hope in time is going to allow me to share both of them as we continue.
Control of the M23 armed group.
The
mission described the arrival as an important
My show is 2 hours.
milestone after a prolonged interruption of air access. Speaking from Goma, the official called for an end to the fighting in the DRC. In accordance with Security Council Resolution 2808 of 2025, MONUSCO is mandated to support a permanent ceasefire. M23 fighters seized control of the city last January as part of a lightning offensive in the east of the country that has claimed thousands of lives. The acting head of MONUSCO announced her plans for the region.
Yeah, so I think actually their presence is because, remember, we had the local, should I call them militants or the defense forces?
I thought they got rid of M23 over there, you said.
Yeah, that was on one of the regions. That was not in Goma. So They
Oh,
are here because of Goma. That was one of the regions that the M23 rebel had seized. And I believe actually they are here because the fact that they're seeing there's a local group of people and they're capable of now even taking back some regions, they're going to fund more destabilization. That is how I'm looking at it, because this happened just, I think, 2 weeks ago, a week ago when we reported this. And now we have the UN mission in the country to do what? To do what? You fail to actually.
They kicked them out. Now why does the UN keep coming? Because the UN steals resources. Doesn't do it. It's a white supremacist organization that was created for any Africans. Okay, they just got kicked out last year, Now they're back. They don't ever solve. Like I said, what does the UN ever solve? Not a goddamn thing.
Nothing, exactly. So this is actually for them to cause more destabilization in the country, because they're saying that Africa has the capability, if with unity, because the DRC Congo as a whole, the people believe and understand why the war and this lack of peace in the country. They know Congo is behind it. Felix Tshisekedi is not going to do anything about it. The US is so behind it. France is behind it. All these countries that present themselves, they are the ones actually very much involved in destabilization of the people of that country and stealing resources.
And it's the only thing I agree with P.L.O. Lumumba in Kenya. If you don't ever stabilize Congo, shout out to Ibn Touray, you understand? If you don't ever stabilize Congo as an African and get control of it as an African, you'll always have disorder in Africa. Because Congo is the heart of Africa. I hate to tell you that. That's where all Africans started from. Okay, I hate to tell you this. You don't ever get control of Congo fully, you'll never develop as an African continent, as a black continent. And so even to rate, in a few years, they're going to go, you're going to have to go in. That's right. And you're going to have to, and I've said it, a lot of Africans are going to have to take dirt nats. That should have been done. A lot of Africans are going to have to take dirt nats. And is what it is.
The same situation is happening in Niger border as we talk. We have an Islamist army that has killed 30 civilians so far, including 4 children and 5 captured combatants in 2 attacks in western Niger. Since January 18th, 2026, Human Rights Watch said today that the attacks by the Islamic State in the Sahel are unlawful and apparent war crimes. On January 18th, the Alliance Sahel State fighters rounded up and executed 31 men, boys in Bosieye village in an apparent retaliation against residents for refusing to pay the zakat or Islamic tax, and it had imposed for joining the pro-government militias.
You see what I'm saying? You don't put us nowhere in the world. The Africans have been kept weak, ignorant, stupid, so they can be stolen from. And we don't see this terrorists nowhere else all over the world. But Africans everywhere, it's all over. Because that's the theft. And it's sponsored by white people. Okay?
Exactly. I'm going to this video, which we have this guy's video, which has always gone round, but I've never shared personally the full of it. Him explaining how they have kept Africa underdeveloped on purpose. So full version of it is here, and I want us to listen.
Africa historically, sub-Saharan Africa has been fundamental to the global prosperity
sub-Saharan Africa
of the advanced countries. Okay, and Africa had a role to play. It has a role as a raw material producer.
Keep everybody rich and keep Africa poor.
Sub-Saharan Africa to escape that.
Exactly.
We do
That's what I want. That's what I want.
Africa, where it is, also impoverished. It's absolutely vital
and
for the prosperity of everyone else. So let's get clear about that. Okay, and this means all the economic structures, all the global institutions, and the economics we teach everyone is all designed to keep Africa exactly where it is. And whether it is Europe or US or now China, it's always the same.
Exactly. So now go back to that. Exactly. So we can't have the US now questioning the US questioning China for having illegal mining or funding illegal mines in Nigeria while they've been doing the same. They all have the same interest, and exactly that is what I believe he's saying.
We need Africa to
that's what it's saying.
because we need those raw materials.
Exactly. They need Africa to be impoverished because everybody has been eating off of Africa. Everybody's got wealthy off Africa. And let the African, since he's become a moron, kept them impoverished. Yes, that's the scam for the last 500 years.
It doesn't mean to say that there's nothing Africans can do. Of course there is. Okay, but this is the opposition that they're fighting. This is what it's about. Because if Africa does do something different, I assure you, living standards.
Pause it. If Africa takes back its wealth, everybody else becomes poor. That's why when Africans controlled Africa, they were wealthy. And that's why the Europeans were poor. Because Europe doesn't have shit. Get it? That's why when they came out through caves and all that shit up there, all the lies they tell you about their fake history, that's why they had to eat babies and all the shit they've been doing. Because they were impoverished. They're impoverished. So you got a group of savages come down on you and steal all your shit. Now you're impoverished. They got shanty towns and slums and badass and all this other crazy shit. Because you don't control none of your own shit no more in Africa. And that's what they mean to keep it. That's what you're fighting. The Chinese always been fucked up, taking all your shit again. Europeans taking all your shit. The fake white Arabs taking all your shit. That's what this is about.
Europe and North America and Asia is going to fall. Okay? And that is a big price to pay. I assure you that the West is not going to allow that without a big fight.
Not without a war. Exactly.
This is what it's fundamentally about. What I want to show you is how these structures are operating. It's just 20 minutes, so we can't do very much, but just to give you a little bit of an idea. And why I keep the ideology part there is because we are part of the producers of ideology. At universities and academic institutions, we are complicit in this whole enterprise.
They're complicit because they're set up for that. All these institutions have been set up to keep Africa poor. Exactly. All these institutions that these morons send their kids to, these goofy leaders, the institutions they send them to, teach them economic theory that impoverishes them. So they come back with that stupid shit to African people, not knowing a damn thing but how to enslave their own selves. It's absolutely crazy. Go ahead, Joe.
What they're doing. Okay? And to show them, it's your fault that you're poor. It's not our fault.
Yeah.
It's your fault that you're poor. You know, so this is what we do in academic institutions, and I want to show that as well. We just start. This is what it's basically about, so you know what it's about. But I want to just show you the extent to which Africa is specializing in the production of raw materials and basic agricultural goods. We know the basic forces that have caused this underdevelopment. We know it's colonization. I do want to discuss the global economic structures, the global financial institutions, and economic ideology, briefly, to give you a flavor of those.
But your fake
Let's
power
start
system.
with this. You can't really see it so easily, but if those of you who are interested, you want the PowerPoint, I'm sure we can make it available to you. But the thing that you really need to see is the top line. Okay, and the extent of dependency is captured by this statistic at the top. Okay, and you compare it with all other income groups, and what you see is essentially in that one statistic how dependent sub-Saharan Africa is on raw material production. Okay, this is the very heart of what makes sub-Saharan Africa beat. Okay, here just to have a look at one very important additional statistic, with all this export coming from sub-Saharan Africa, how much does sub-Saharan Africa account for in terms of global trade value? We know there are vast resources coming from there, but look at the bottom line in terms of global trade value. Look at that. 0.5%, 1975, 0.95%, going down to 0.1. To 0.1. Meaning that with all this vast resources being produced,
that making shit.
Nothing for it. Nothing.
Nothing. It's all stolen.
Very significant piece of data. Then I just want to show you what has happened to sub-Saharan Africa, because what we know, and from all studies, no country ever develops without manufacturing. Okay, producing raw materials will not take you anywhere. Producing basic agricultural goods will not take you anywhere. And let's have a look at how much manufacturing activity takes place in sub-Saharan Africa.
And that's why Angel said, that's why sub-Saharan, I don't like to use that, sub-Saharan means yourself. That's why Black Africa, the lights don't never stay the fuck on. That's why all of these countries, you got no stable electricity. It don't make any sense in 2026. You don't got the resources to make all electricity work. Why doesn't it fucking work? Because you're not supposed to manufacture. That's why. Go ahead, Joe.
The last 15 odd years, 15, 20 years. And we see manufacturing has actually declined as a percentage of the total.
Of course. They come in and take it out.
Of total production in sub-Saharan Africa, how
doesn't
much
exist
is accounted for by manufacturing. So this figure here is 17% of the total. Most of the rest, when we talk of industry, it includes manufacturing, but the bulk of it is mining. Okay? Raw material extraction. This is the bulk of it. And here we see actually raw material extraction has stayed the same. What has caused industry to fall is the fall in manufacturing production.
They don't make
this
shit.
is deliberate because we will never, as Western economists, as Western policymakers, we cannot afford to allow Africa to industrialize and start producing manufacturers. Okay, so we will do everything to stop that.
Yep.
And I'm going to show you how we.
That's why you got terrorists running around all throughout Africa. You get it? Why you got these terrorists all around Africa? Go ahead, Joe.
It's obvious in certain ways, but it's less obvious in other ways. Now, we have actually seen periods of rapid growth in sub-Saharan Africa, misleading people, saying, oh, you know, we're now doing much better. And this has happened recently. Recently, I've had students come and tell me, we've done much better now. And you can see growth rate.
Because they're stupid.
Grows quite sharply in recent times. Now are starting to go again down.
Pause it for a second. Pause it. So let me explain why they think they do better. Remember, after World War II, Africa's resources developed. Europe was fucked up, destroyed. Couldn't do nothing. Now Europe, again, Asia was underdeveloped. So your fault was you developing China, Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, and Malaysia. Your resources developed Asia, morons. See, every other place is more developed than Africa because they try to keep Africa poor. But your resources were taken out to develop. So when you hear Africans go around Indonesia, they was let us say Singapore. Those are your resources that developed that shit. Stupid. That developed China. That developed Vietnam, Thailand, Laos. That's your shit. You also developed it. Why can't Africa do it? because the world is preying on your ass. That's why. And those are your resources that built them up. So they don't need as many resources now. They still need a lot of your resources. They don't need the bulk of them. So now your money's going to go down because they're just going to exploit you with your resources. They don't need all of it because their countries are now developed infrastructurally. Go ahead, Joe.
If you look historically, the same thing happened earlier. Why? Because in these two periods, we had East Asian rapid industrialization process.
Exactly. They were developing Asia.
And in Korea and Taiwan.
Yep.
Rapid growth, sucking in raw materials from Africa.
Yeah.
Driving up the prices. And then sub-Saharan African countries grew. Exporting raw materials, they grew. But after those countries finished industrialization, then
they don't need as much.
Sub-Saharan African growth rate again fell. Okay, but along comes China. Next wave. Okay, again.
Exactly.
Sub-Saharan African growth rises, but now China is going down. As many
Because China's developed.
From the press, China is going down. But sub-Saharan Africa is going down even faster. And we're going to go back to where we were again with very low prices of raw materials, very low growth rates, and again, the sorts of poverty that we saw once before. Because, bottom line, sub-Saharan Africa is condemned to this role, just the supplier of raw materials, not a manufacturer. Very recent data showing emerging markets that produce raw materials against emerging markets that produce manufacturers. And you can see now with the weakness in the global economy, it's the emerging markets, that's the red line. It's those countries that are suffering the most, the emerging markets producing raw materials. They're suffering the most.
Because they don't make shit.
And here, it translates into their currencies being butchered. Okay, the currencies are collapsing of these countries, and many of them are sub-Saharan African countries. Sometimes we teach very destructive things, and no more important than when we're teaching.
But I tend to refuse with them about the collapsing because we can see now the rest of the countries which are non-African, they're the ones collapsing and they need. That's why they're actually not.
Well, he's saying that because the Africans are now now trying to take back their resources, and they're not going to allow the resources to go without being controlled by them, and then also mined by them, produced by them. That's why the UAEs went around stealing gold and shit out of Africa to refine it, sell it. So Africa's got to take over its resources and refine them, produce them themselves. You got to refine them and manufacture them, but you got to manufacture what's yours. That's what the sales say. So a lot of that is changing because that's why they're trying to kill even Touray. That's why they in the Sahel. Like he said, they're not going to allow Africa just to say, okay, we're going to take our stuff back and we're going to start developing it. That's going to make white people poor. They're not going to be poor without a fight.
People from developing countries. Okay, and one of those very damaging and destructive things is the doctrine of comparative advantage. It's a lie from beginning to end. It's utter crap. It has been decimated many times, but we keep it in every curriculum. Why? Because it tells sub-Saharan African countries that their destiny is to produce raw materials, you see. And if you produce raw materials, you get rich just like we are in the West. You see, this is the game we're playing. And just for you to be totally confused, we normally build models with it, mathematical models. So you really have no idea what we're talking about. But it seems all very scientific.
Exactly. And the Africans go, why are you going to your enemy to learn economic theory? You know the shit don't work. Like Ibram Touray, so he had to go to your damn goopy colleges in Europe. You know, hey, this shit doesn't work. You've been doing this shit for 60 years. We're impoverished. It doesn't work. All these puppets know it don't work. No way they don't know it by now. But they're kept there to make sure it stays intact. The theft of African people. The people stay ignorant and impoverished. That's the scam. You stay stupid and impoverished. That's the scam. Go ahead, Joe.
Version of this is because it's all a failure. We know it's a failure. We now have a new generation of economists saying, it's only a failure because you're all corrupt in your countries. We call that new institutional economics. You've all probably learnt it all, but you didn't know why they invented it. It was invented to tell you the same thing. You should keep producing raw materials. Now, don't be as corrupt as you were before. Nobody ever told you that aid was designed to actually start the corruption process in the first place. Okay, and we need corruption to make sure you're doing all these things.
Exactly. That's what your pause. That's why I told you. It was an African corrupt country before colonization. That's not your nature. You've been putting systems now. You've made it your nature to be corrupt and institutions don't work. They need that so they can steal from you. That's why shit don't work in Africa. That's on purpose. You don't come from corrupt people. Africans are never corrupt people. You come from hardworking, honest people. But you're now in systems from Nigeria to Kenya to Ghana that are corrupt through and through to make sure white people stay on top and you stay on the bottom. That's why your systems in Africa don't work. That's why you have weak institutions that don't protect you. Because if you had good institutions, you'll start taking your shit back. And they can't have that. So when you look, you say Africa, I don't know why we're so corrupt. Why are things so corrupt in Africa? Because you were put in that position. You were thrown in that position. That's not your nature. Go ahead, Joe.
You're poor because it's your fault, basically. And you're poor, stupid, and corrupt, basically.
Exactly. You're poor, stupid. I'm glad the white man said, but I said, I'm being too harsh. I try to tell you what they're doing. You're poor and stupid and corrupt. And it's your fault that you're stupid. It ain't your fault you're stupid. They want to keep you stupid. That's why you got school fees. Okay? That's why you got school fees everywhere in Africa. But you don't got any jobs. How can I pay for school? I don't got no manufacturing. There's no jobs in Africa. So that's to keep you stupid. That's on purpose. Okay? Majority of Africans don't go to school. They can't afford it. Because there's no jobs in Africa. That's on purpose. Then they keep you poor so they can steal your resources. Right? And they keep you corrupt so they keep those people in power so the whole shit continues in perpetuity. It's on purpose. Go ahead, Joe.
We also have many theoretical justifications, but I'm going to say something controversial to end. And she's happy that I'm ending because she has to discipline me. And that is, there are also what I call more enlightened approaches, but which are also potentially destructive for sub-Saharan African development. And this is where I come back to the IMF and the World Bank. You see, now they're all into poverty alleviation. They want you to concentrate on redistributing income, and it's something nice. You're young people, you're socially conscious, you're aware. You don't like all this injustice. So you gravitate towards what we call pro-poor strategies. But actually, I'm sorry to tell you, that is not what Africa needs. Africa needs aggressive industrialization.
Yeah.
When China was a communist country and we had equal distribution, who feared China? Who took them seriously? They weren't even the size of the Netherlands.
Exactly, they were impoverished.
I can't open an internet site. I can't open a magazine. I can't open a newspaper without China, 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 China. And we know what has built China. It's not socialism, communism, it's capitalism, guys.
That's right. Capitalism through manufacturing.
This is what creates employment. This is what created jobs.
Exactly.
The
job. It's the job.
This is the reality. And unfortunately, we're now going to get caught with the good cop, bad cop. The good cop is now IMF saying, oh, you must concentrate on poverty reduction and income redistribution. As long as we can take you away from industrialization, this is the crucial thing. You know?
Yeah.
I leave it at that.
And that's why they want to kill. Even that's why he's great manufacturer. That's why they want to kill him. That's why they keep trying to kill those guys. They say we got to manufacture. Why are you trying to kill me but give my people jobs? Why are you trying to kill me just trying to manufacture? Because that overthrows the apple cart. You niggas are supposed to stay on the bottom and impoverished and stupid and over-religious. That's your goddamn role in the planet. You to stay impoverished, over-religious, and fucking stupid. That's your role. How dare you try to get out of it? Go ahead, Joey.
Well, the first and most important is the economic structures. After colonization ended, we needed new structures to keep
Exactly. That's where you get the fake banking scams to create the IMF, World Bank, these loans. Exactly. We need new strategy. We know we put dumb puppets in there. They don't understand economics because they're stupid. We give them libraries, but the whole thing is to keep the country captured. Militarily, we don't have enough white people to fight these niggas, to go to war. We don't have enough of them. So we're going to give them fake independence, but they're never going to get independence. We're going to set certain schemes up, economic schemes, to keep this shit still coming to us. Because they still worship us, because they still come out of colonization back in the 50s and 60s, where they seen us as their gods. They worship us, and they're stupid. They're stupid. And so we're going to exploit their idiocy and start setting these economic policies that benefit us. So we're still stealing all of their shit. Because you got a couple of them, they want to be the big head nigga. And the big head nigga. Okay? Because they're stupid. We give them some trinkets. We let them and their family be real wealthy. But all the people are impoverished, fucked up. No, that's how we're going to do it. And that's how it's been kept. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, and the first of those is aid.
Yep.
Okay, we give them aid.
Aid
for what?
Actually, can you imagine you giving the richest continent on the planet aid? I told Joe, it is fake aid. You're too stupid because I kept you ignorant, remember? So I'm going to come back to your schools, come back to other places like I'm giving you aid, and you're going to worship me some more because you don't know. You're too ignorant. No, I'm the one that impoverished you. You know it was me. Because I impoverished your stupid ass. So I'll come back with the aid that I'm stealing from you. As Jeffrey said in the last one, I'm going to come back and give you aid with your own shit. Idea that the richest continent on the planet need aid from anybody is preposterous. Go ahead, Joe.
To keep repressive regimes in power.
Exactly. To keep your puppets in power.
We're not giving them aid for much more, except a little bit of infrastructure to make sure those raw materials get to the ports.
Exactly.
And aren't gotten out of the ground. But for the most part, we give repressive regimes money and power and guns to keep that system going. This is what it's fundamentally about. All the hypocrisy about transparency and democracy and bullshit like that. It's all
exactly bullshit like shout out to this German guy, all that shit's bullshit. Exactly, all that fake democracy, all that's all bullshit.
Chinese don't enter into that bullshit. They say, we don't care about the whole political environment, we just give the money. Okay? And it's for raw material extraction, period. Okay? Number two, and this was a very important one, still is debt. Okay, now we come to those international.
Right, keep them in debt.
And I must tell you this from the outset. Don't think of them as wicked. IMF, World Bank, WTO. We always think evil creatures, horrible. It's not. It's just economics.
It is evil. See, him as a white, somebody says economic. It's evil because every system they build is evil. He said, "Oh, just not just economics. You don't build systems that you prey on people because unless you're evil."
I kind of understand what he's trying to say, but the fact he said we are ignorant, stupid, and
But that's not your fault, Joby. They put those systems to keep you ignorant.
it's not. But I feel like, again, how will you be exploited for this long? You bump into this kind of information. They're openly talking about it, of how they have kept your countries, the continent, in poverty, but you still go back to the same patterns and still work with them. Actually, the IMF is not doing anything wrong. Me too, I'll side with them on that, because there's no way personally someone is going to be exploiting me or my generation for years, and there's no one under my generation that has snapped their head and tried to understand, oh, the more I work with this organization, and if I don't pay back them in the interest they want, they're going to come and steal what belongs to me. You willingly still continue to partner with them. So actually, it's what he's saying.
The rich declare war on the poor. It happens
Exactly.
everywhere. It happens in a country. The rich control the government. Of course they do.
True. Oh, true.
You really believe you have democracy? Come on.
Democracy.
Yeah, like, how is democracy applicable when you're continuously being exploited? You can't put up manufacturing, companies and all that. You've been told what to do by someone who's still giving you the fake paper. Come on.
Grow up. This is not about people living in democratic systems.
Exactly.
Is the rich control. The rich set up these institutions explicitly to control the poor countries.
Exactly.
And they don't give them much room for maneuver. Which, incidentally, when the IMF starts talking of poverty alleviation, you should also understand that there's another game there also starting to play, which I'm going to come back to later. But what do these institutions do? What does the IMF do? What is structural adjustment about? It's about making sure countries keep producing what we want them to produce. We make sure they have recurrent balance of payments problems. You notice these countries never get out of balance of payments problems. You notice that? Whereas countries that never get IMF support are always out of balance of payments problems. Or the countries that are continuously getting advice and support by the IMF, they're always in balance of payments problems. Why? Because that's the way we keep our stranglehold on them. And that's what we have done. We have done, the IMF and the World Bank. And they've also done something very, very important. And that is they have destroyed the self-sufficiency of these countries. Colonization started it. Okay? One of the most important things is we destroy food self-sufficiency. Okay, and the World Bank continued it. They forced most countries to eliminate all food subsidies and food support. Okay? Because once you don't produce your own food, I increase my control over it.
Exactly.
How do we know this? Well, a very funny thing happened some years ago. Not so funny, actually. It involved starvation of a large number of people in Malawi. Many of you could remember this because it was really tragic. But the Malawian finance minister, who was under terrible threat at the time, suddenly broke ranks and he said, well, you know why we had this famine? Because one of the conditions of the loan given by the World Bank was we destroyed all our grain surplus stocks. Why? Because remember, we want you dependent.
But you impoverished. Yep. So you know that.
In the WTO.
So like he said, so what he said, that's evil. He said this is evil. Restore your food so you can stay impoverished and get the loan. It's evil. It is economics. It's not economics, Joby. It's evil. They do evil shit. That's evil. Whether you.
Personally, I want to keep on defending people who are critical thinking and they have a choice. It's not like we don't have a choice. Like he said,
You do have a choice. That's true.
we choose to continue working with the same people. Burkina Faso had a choice. Brian Traore would have taken power and continued with the same structure of keeping people under poverty, but he decided
That's
enough
true.
and decided to take matters into his own hands, no matter what it's going to cost him, including his life. He vowed to
Okay,
protect
that's true.
and make changes, and that we can evidently we've seen the amount and massive growth that is currently under the Alliance Sahel state, because you have a choice.
Because they started to break the system. Okay. Yeah, it takes you not being a bootlick, takes courage, because these people are going to come and see you. Exactly.
You have a choice, and choices have consequences, and the
True.
choice of the puppets literally putting us under this system, it will continue. The consequence will us being in poverty till when we decide to have a true leader who's going to rise up and say no more of this. It's going to take a lot of courage, braveness, a lot of courage and braveness, and fear too. You're not being scared of these people anymore and their influence anymore. Because if Ibrahim Traore has conquered and has literally escaped all those assassination attempts, it's possible that the rest of the people, if we did the same and with solidarity and make the people understand, this is also inclusivity of the people it comes in, make people understand what you're doing, you're going to have Burkina Fasos literally in so many
True.
places. You're going to be having people willing to sleep on the streets to protect
True.
you because
Is
they've
it
seen
true?
the interest you bring into the country. They've seen there's true transformation, not just you talking, collaborating
True.
with China, US, and there's nothing you ever do but continuation of war. So I agree with him literally. Personally, still, is the IMF bad? It is a bad organization. I've discussed, of course, personally the consequences of how and me understanding how African countries have gotten here, which is also explained. But they're just doing their job, literally. Like, please.
They're doing a job exploiting people. They can't set up systems, Joey, if they want to. So there can never be no real systems of actual help. Everything's got to be exploitative, Joey. They got to exploit people.
I'm not saying that's justifiable, but what's not justifiable is also you not critically thinking and seeing again for years you've been exploited. Okay, fine. It could be an excuse of the first president, the second president, but you choose to become a president and you're willing to make a change and you don't want to, you choose to, because you're told these are the threats if you do this and this and this, you're like, okay, fine. Just give me the glass of wine in the library and guns and I'm okay.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You'll choose to continue being a bootlicker, and that continues literally with the continuation of your poverty. So again, choices have consequences. So it's up to us if you want to continue being corrupt, which is
That's true.
continue. If you want to continue being divided and tribal, we're going to continue with that, and it's going to work perfectly according to the white people's plan, not according to our plan. Our plan is we're going to continue always praying, always begging. We're going to be Afghanistans, always begging. And that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do.
I can't argue with that because what you're saying is true.
I'm going to share the last video, which is this one. Still talking about Africa under development and how wealthy we are in terms of resources. Nigerians who don't understand how wealthy Africa is. It's not just your country. The whole of the continent is rich. That's why they are in every corner.
Yep, the whole continent is wealthy.
America has 3D meats. America has GMO food. America has trash. Or you claiming that America is wealthier than Africa? You gotta be crazy.
A continent of immense natural wealth and vibrant cultures possesses a profound history. Its diverse landscapes and societies once thrived with intricate trade networks and sophisticated political systems.
Now, exactly. The trade networks, I pose that with the trade networks. I go back again to the first topic I just said about Kenya and Somalia reopening the borders. And like I said, it's been 15 years since Kenya and Somali borders were closed because of insecurity. And the question is, how is it that Kenya, in these 15 years, it has prepared itself in terms of defense forces or security matters, just in case we came to this discussion, which Ruto has opened, of reopening our borders? How can we tackle this situation of the Al-Shabaabs? Again, we go back to this being a discussion of the whole continent, because it's not just Kenya that is dealing with terrorism. You tackle these problems, the borders, in maybe 10 years. What are the solutions we're going to bring for us in case we reopen the borders for us to tackle this kind of matter? Is nothing Kenya has done. Now, we're talking about trading because that's the excuse of him talking about us reopening the border. Again, we're looking at Somali. Somali has nothing to offer but just skinny bones, literally skinny bone people, and always just running away from their
Well, wait, what's it called? Skinny bone people.
Yeah, you can see no meat in these people, but just the bones. So you're talking about trading.
You crazy skinny bone
So you're
people.
talking about trading, and we've seen basically there's nothing we can benefit from Somali. You sound crazy. And if you talk about trading, this is something we should have discussed as a continent long time ago. We go back to history again, we see how have we benefited by just us working together. But none of these African nations, again, like the white man has said, you want to keep on you want to continue being Afghanistans, always begging, always and it's up to you, man.
Yet, a dramatic shift occurred, fundamentally altering its trajectory. This transformation was not an internal evolution, but an external imposition. Existing African boundaries or ethnic groups. It was an arbitrary partitioning, driven solely by European interests. The formalization of this division took place at the infamous Berlin Conference. Held between 1884 and 1885, this gathering of European powers decided Africa's fate. No African representatives were invited or consulted.
Now, that's where we even pause. Now we go back to, again, critical thinking. The fact that we're dealing with people who never even put us at the table, and that's my topic. That's why I shared the two videos to literally go back to the topic. Because as you can see, we have the African Union. Let me just switch a little bit. We have the African Union, which was discussing about them not recognizing the Somaliland anymore. But we also have the African leaders who have consistently talked about not wanting to be involved in some certain summits or, going to certain summits while they have representatives of this organization like the African Union chairman or chairperson who should go and represent the whole Africa, talk our matters, and let us come back and discuss the solutions right here. That are still not being respected. These African leaders still board buses and tuk-tuks and bicycles to go all the way to these European countries or wherever they go to discuss about the white man's interest, not the African interest. Because even talking about the Somaliland, literally this is nothing to do with your goddamn interest. It's nothing to do with you. It's all about the white person. So again, we had the African heads of state, which were gathering in Ethiopia, of course, on that particular meeting for their annual meeting this weekend. Again, there's another meeting also this weekend, and at a time when the continent's place in the world appears to be in flux. Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney speaking in Davos last month, described an arresting image for the future of international relations. Either countries were at the table or they were on the menu. For African leaders who for years have been arguing and begging, of course, that they should be dining at the top table, it was not an unfamiliar analogy. But it is its second term. But in his second term, U.S. President Donald Trump has accelerated the trend towards great power domination of world affairs and ditching the multilateralism. As the White House updated security strategy says, not every region in the world can get equal attention. Trump's pivot towards the Western Hemisphere, as well as time spent in the Middle East, has implied less focus on Africa. The less powerful nations who may have once relied on the norms as well as the finance of global bodies such as the UN, the World Bank, and the World Trade Organizations are now having to reevaluate relationship. These moves have been fresh agency to the question of how the continent should deal with the rest of the world. We have for Tigzi Amare, the director of the Africa program at the UK-based Chatham House think tank. There is a
Chatham House. One of the most evil places. Chatham House is like it's the British Council of Foreign Relations. It's just and I'm gonna tell you, these are evil institutions, Joe. Evil, not just the evil. But go ahead.
Yeah, says there's a danger that African countries will be left behind if they fail to develop an effective common strategy. But already for the US, there is a menu full of tempting bilateral deals involving mining and natural resources, which bypass any opportunity for collective bargaining on the part of the continent. When it comes to Africa, the policy shift reflected in pronouncement from Washington is dizzying. And a little over 3 years ago, then President Joe Biden told the continent's leader at a summit in the U.S. Capitol that the United States is all in all Africa's future. This followed a White House strategy document on sub-Saharan Africa, which described again the region of critical to advancing our global priorities. Critics, however, have questioned whether this really did penetrate the Oval Office, with Biden only visits to sub-Saharan Africa as a president to Cape Verde briefly and Angola coming into the last full of his term. But I don't want to continue with the rest of the article. Literally. So the question I think which is very important, and if you go on, they talk about the exploitation of Congo mineral resources and all that, and other countries where there's unrest, and Africa again ability of making decision. That's again Africa ability of making decision, because we don't make our decision. We're not even at the table. Neither I don't know where we are. I don't know if we are the
no, you're not at the table, because you're not. You see. What they're telling you, what Joe just said, what they said at the World Economic Forum, they're saying yes, everything we told you was they come out to everything we told you was a lie. They're saying now it's gonna be built on world power. You don't have any military, and if you're weak, you're gonna be dominated. That's what they're telling you. He said, well, America's now going to just say we're going to dominate you. We don't care if you're weak. There's no more lying and pretending. You know what? You know, we're trying to do partnership. We're trying to help you. America's saying, fuck that. We are a powerful nation. We're going to take your shit, and there's nothing you can do to stop us. So that's what they're saying. And now the mask is off. The European mask is off by white people. They want to come out. See, told you, they can never, for a long time, they don't like to pretend. Right? Oh, we're gonna try to help. No, they don't. They did for a little while, but their nature's like, we want to take it, we want to dominate it, we want to control everything, and we don't give a damn who knows. If you're too weak to defend yourself, so what? You're supposed to be prey. That's what Mark Carney is telling you. You're supposed to be dominated. You can't defend yourself from your shit. If you can't defend me from coming to your house, Joby, and knocking you in your head, you're not supposed to have a house there.
It's crazy.
The consequences of the Berlin Conference were catastrophic and far-reaching.
Exactly. This is what they did. Exactly. That's what the Berlin Conference was about. We're going to come in and just take it all. Africa's weak. There's too many tribes. We're going to come and just take it all. And fuck
this
them.
Disregard sowed the seeds of future conflict and instability. The conference legitimized the European conquest of Africa. It marked the official beginning of a new era of systematic exploitation. This period would fundamentally alter Africa's economic, social, and political landscape for generations. The primary driver of European engagement in Africa was
It's the
extensive
wealth,
resource extraction.
the money.
The continent was rich
Exactly.
in valuable commodities using
That's rich.
rubber,
Exactly.
diamonds, gold, copper, and various agricultural products.
It's
These
the only
resources were
continent that
plundered
has
often brutal and
everything.
inhumane.
It's the only continent that has everything.
European colonial powers employed coercive methods to maximize their gains. The human cost of this extraction was immense and devastating. Forced labor was systematically implemented across the continent. African
Slavery.
populations were compelled
Forced
to work in
labor
mines,
is forced labor is slavery. So they was like saying that's forced labor. Me making you work without your will is called slavery. So slavery was implemented throughout the continent again, right? That's what they do. You know, they were taking people from Africa years ago. Now they came to Africa, they put slavery on the continent there. They got a good name. Oh, forced labor. That's slavery, guys. Okay? Go ahead, Toby.
and infrastructure projects. This labor was often unpaid and under horrific conditions.
Of course, it was
The
slavery.
Congo Free State under King Leopold II of Belgium serves as a stark example. His regime subjected the Congolese people to unimaginable atrocities. Millions perished due to forced labor, mutilation, and disease. This systematic exploitation.
Pause it. And remember, also Africans, they also fucked your mind up with their goofy. They had you worship them while they were murdering you. You still do it today. They came in with their fake religion, gave to you. You goofy Negroes would defend their fake religion. And they slaughtered your goddamn family. Your goddamn great-great-grandma, they slaughtered her ass. Your great-great-grandfather, they slaughtered his ass, raped him. You know, oh, Jesus, oh, Lord. Shit crazy. Go ahead.
Had a devastating demographic impact.
Yeah, it was devastating.
African populations were decimated by violence, famine,
Murder.
and disease. The loss of life profoundly affected social structures and future generations. Local economies were crippled by these exploitative practices.
Of course.
Traditional industries cash crops, or other raw materials.
So this how you get starvation down in Africa. Because you're not allowed to grow food. You must grow bullshit for Europe, make them wealthy. So that's how you get starvation on the continent that's got the most arable land. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Joe. none of it relative. This is all wicked. Okay? This is evil. And African people globally to call what this is evil. System was set up to be evil. System was set up to keep Africans impoverished by making everybody rich. It's evil.
External assistance, rather than fostering internal capacity. Aid often came with conditions that further integrated African economies into global systems on
so we can keep stealing from you.
The legacy of this economic structuring continues to shape Africa's current economic situation. It contributes to challenges like poverty, inequality, and limited industrialization. Understanding this history is crucial for addressing contemporary economic disparities. The economic impact of colonialism is not merely a historical footnote. It is a living reality that influences policy decisions and development strategies today. The patterns established centuries ago still resonate. This historical context is essential for comprehending why many African nations face specific economic hurdles. It highlights the systemic nature of underdevelopment. It underscores the need for equitable global economic partnerships. Beyond economics, the social and political landscape of Africa was irrevocably altered. One of the most enduring legacies political participation, and human rights. Addressing these legacies is crucial for fostering lasting peace and development. This historical perspective compels us to ask critical questions. How can nations overcome divisions imposed from without? What lessons can be learned from this past to build a more equitable future? Understanding how Europe underdeveloped Africa is not merely an academic exercise. It is crucial for comprehending the challenges and opportunities facing the continent today. This history provides essential context for current global dynamics. It is a complex story, far from simplistic narratives of progress or failure. It demands a nuanced appreciation of historical forces and their enduring impact. This narrative highlights the interconnectedness of global history. By acknowledging this past, we can better address present inequalities.
Exactly. We have to go back to the past patterns and understand where the whole problem started, because again, these organizations are just doing their evil jobs. Again, how are you gonna save yourself? You want to keep on calling them evil as you're still corrupt, as you still keep on stealing wealth and give away wealth and keep people poor. Well, I think that's a willing decision. If you ask me, that's a willing decision. Yeah, and that's what these African puppets have kept us in, a willing decision, a willing deal. You're ready to just continue the oppression, continue making these other organizations happy as the majority suffer. So they're just doing their job. Sure. That's it. They're just doing their job. As I come to the end of today's conversation, don't get me wrong, I didn't say they're not evil, but they're just doing their job. Like the white man said, they're just doing their job. But much love, family. It has been my time with you guys. We've had many discussions. For those who will be catching this on a replay, hope you guys get to enjoy. And in case you're from Kenya and you bump into the first conversation, let me know what you think about the current border reopening of Kenya and Somali. Do you think this is going to be good for us, or this is actually an opening to unrest in the country? Because again, like I said, remember last year I talked about it, where Rigathi Gachagua said there was secret meetings with the Al-Shabaab and all that. So could this be a possible link?
I think it's unrest, because Somalia's not peaceful still. So to me, I wouldn't open that border. Why?
Well,
I would open that border because Somalia don't got shit to trade with. So what am I opening the border for? Ain't nobody going to Somalia for no tourism. So not opening no damn border. So I know it's safe.
I think you gotta ask Ruto that conversation, and he might let you know. But have yourself an amazing.
That ain't Ruto. I smell the white man.
Yeah, peace and out. See you guys later on the Africa